speed, strength, endurance. Soldiers advanced at a superhuman pace, and tanks moved with relentless rhythm. But the fuel of World War II was not only gasoline. It also came in pills, powders, drugs, Pervitin, Benzedrine, Hero-Pon. These were the names of the substances handed to armies to keep their forces standing, ready to fight countless battles. German soldiers marching for days without sleep. Allied pilots enduring endless missions. Japanese kamikazes sealing their fate with a final dose. But behind the illusion of military efficiency, a hidden chemical war raged. A conflict fueled by stimulants that promised invulnerability but carried a devastating cost. This is the story of a war fought under the influence of drugs. Europe, 1914. Long before Adolf Hitler tried to lead Nazism to world domination, another global conflict erupted with fury. Even then, soldiers in the trenches of World War I carried more than rifles and bayonets. Struggling to survive amid mud, rats and corpses, they were also given alcohol, morphine and cocaine. The latter was far from taboo. It was openly distributed among British, French, German and colonial troops to boost courage and withstand the horror. The problem came later. When the war ended, thousands of veterans were left trapped in addictions that had begun as a tool of survival. It was a catastrophe. Yet 20 years later, a new war demanded more than bravery. Soldiers now had to push forward without rest. The chosen weapons were amphetamines and methamphetamines. Pervitin in Germany, Benzedrine for the British and Americans, Hero-Pon in Japan.
So people loved meth. So this methamphetamine became very popular, like workers used it in the factories. They could, increase their output, boosted your ego. So it was, you go into a meeting, an important meeting, you take a bit of meth before. So it wasn't stigmatized, it was.
They called it a performance enhancer. In a modern capitalist model obsessed with competition, methamphetamine became the engine of society. The civilian population showed its effectiveness, and the armies soon saw it as a weapon of war. Systematically and routinely, pills were handed to soldiers to keep them awake, active, and obedient. Thus began a silent race to create the perfect fighter. Stronger, faster, deadlier. World War II marked the beginning of a parallel conflict, fought not only on the fronts, but also in laboratories. And as on the battlefield, the Third Reich was overwhelming from the start. With Pervitin, it launched a revolution. A single, cheap, white tablet promised endless energy, unshakable confidence, and resilience beyond human limits. What looked like an everyday medicine quickly became the fuel of a Nazi army that never blinked.
A professor called Ranke, he was the head of the Institute for Defense Physiology of the German Army. And basically his job was to enhance the fighting capability of the soldier. So he was researching in 1938, how can we combat fatigue? Because he said, not the Russians are our biggest enemy, not the British, not even the French, Our biggest enemy is fatigue, because you get tired in the evening, you fight the whole day and then you need to sleep. What a waste,
Behind that relentless, mysterious army was the creation of a Berlin pharmaceutical company. Methamphetamine, sold as Pervitin, was marketed openly in pharmacies as the perfect remedy for fatigue, stress, and lethargy. No prescription required. It was, quite literally, a supermarket drug. There were even Pervitin chocolates, promoted as the ideal snack to boost daily performance. All of Germany lived in a chemical state of alert, and when the war began, the drug found its true battlefield.
The Nazis set themselves up as being this sort of phenomenal, huge machine of highly trained, highly motivated troops with all the best kit, and that they keep going longer than their enemy. It's all part of that.
Their exceptional performance made Allied intelligence highly suspicious. Even the Aryan myth of superior breeding couldn't explain the physical ability to fight for days without sleep.
The Wehrmacht quickly realized Pervitin's military potential. Fueled by the drug, the Blitzkrieg moved faster than sleep itself, and Nazi strategies seemed unstoppable. In 1939, during the invasion of Poland, German soldiers already carried methamphetamine tablets in their packs. Instead of stopping to sleep, motorized units marched for 3 days straight without rest, eyes wide, muscles tight, hearts pounding at full speed. But it was during the offensive against France in May 1940 that Pervitin use reached its peak. By then, the Nazi High Command had already issued the Stimulant Decree, an official order dictating when to take methamphetamine, how much to consume, and what combinations were most effective to keep soldiers fighting without collapse.
Pervitin was a methamphetamine delivering an explosive high.
It was given to the German troops who invaded France through the narrow valleys of the Ardennes, driving their tanks through in long lines over 3 or 4 days to keep the tank drivers awake. They called it Panzerschokolade or tank chocolate. It was also known as Stuka tablets from the dive bombers. It was given to the pilots.
The Third Reich ordered more than 35 million Pervitin tablets for that campaign alone. A colossal logistical operation, it marched alongside tanks, infantry, and planes across Western Europe. The results were as astonishing as they were alarming. Winston Churchill and the Western Allies were stunned by the speed of the German advance. In less than 6 weeks, the Nazis had crossed Belgium, broken through French defenses, and reached Paris. It seemed as if their soldiers never slept, as if they never stopped. But it was not strategy alone. It was chemistry. Behind the mechanized muscle and surgical precision, however, the Third Reich sold the world another story, that of the healthy army. A pure, disciplined force, free of vices. Nazi propaganda claimed German soldiers were physically superior thanks to hygiene, nutrition, and incorruptible morals. Daily exercise was promoted, sunbathing encouraged, and smoking or drinking discouraged. Hitler himself declared that recreational drugs were a threat to the purity of the German people. Cocaine, opium, morphine, all were denounced as part of a supposed Jewish disease. The Führer sought to lead by example. A vegetarian, he did not smoke, avoided alcohol, went to bed early, and promoted exercise. An essential part of his cult of personality was built on that image. An incorruptible leader, morally superior, obsessed with physical purity. But behind closed doors, one man knew the truth. Dr. Theodor Morell. He was the one who filled the veins of Germany's master with what they called Jewish poison.
When he met Morell in 1936, who quickly became his personal physician, and Morell said, "I can give you vitamin injections and you immediately will feel amazing and you will never get a cold," Hitler thought, "This is my man." He woke up and he rolled back the sleeve of his pajama, and Morell came in and gave him a vitamin injection and a glucose injection, and Hitler had had his breakfast.
Morell was an odd figure. Known for eccentric habits and quick fixes with a bag full of mysterious vials, he soon became Hitler's personal shadow. He stayed by his side through almost all of World War II. He injected him daily, medicated him before every speech, and followed him even into the deepest bunkers. Hitler distrusted everyone, except him. On paper, Morell treated Hitler's chronic stomach pains, headaches, and anxiety. In reality, he became the supplier of a walking pharmacy.
Stage 2 started in the fall of 1941 when the war against Russia turned bad, and he started to take lots of hormones and steroids and barbiturates. He had high fever and diarrhea, so he was quite sick. They called it the Russian flu. For the first time, he got hormone injections from animals. pig liver extract, and it actually worked. He was back in the briefing the next day.
According to Morell's notes, preserved after the war, he gave Hitler over 800 injections in just 1,349 days. Explosive cocktails of opioids, steroids, stimulants, tranquilizers, laxatives, hormones, and animal extracts. If Hitler's hand shook, Morell had a syringe ready, and as the war dragged on, the mix kept changing. One of the strongest drugs the Führer took was Eucadal, a synthetic opioid stronger than morphine. He first tried it in 1943 before a crucial meeting with Benito Mussolini. The Italian dictator was considering withdrawing from the war after the North African defeat. Hitler could not afford to appear weak, depressed, or hesitant. Morell injected him with Eucadal, and the result was almost magical.
And after a good shot of Eucadal, you feel extremely good. And this is exactly what happened to Hitler. And there's reports from that meeting with Mussolini where he just didn't stop talking and was in such a euphoric mood that he easily convinced Mussolini to stay on board.
After hours of conversation, Hitler convinced Mussolini to stay in the Axis. But the cost was high. From that day on, Eucadal became part of his routine. In those years, Hitler became a drug addict. His health declined. His hand trembled. His judgment faltered. Commanders saw him irritable, impulsive, detached from reality. Meetings grew paranoid. Decisions became reckless. As the fronts collapsed, Morell kept injecting him.
He used the drugs to keep his convictions that he formed when he wasn't already on drugs. He just left reality at a point when he should have realized that his delusional ideas of beating the whole world were what they were, namely delusional and totally irrational and not in touch with reality at all.
While deciding the fate of the world, Hitler was high. Which leads to the question, how different might the war have been without those injections? Still, drugs spread through every corner of the conflict, from the Führer and his circle to Allied and Japanese troops. When a Luftwaffe pilot was shot down and captured by the British, the Allies discovered Pervitin tablets. That was when they realized the secret behind Germany's unstoppable soldiers. Their response? Benzedrine. For years, this drug was the hidden companion of thousands of British and American soldiers. It lacked the glamour of heavy weapons or roaring Sherman tanks. But packed alongside field rations, Benzedrine became as essential as a rifle. Originally synthesized in the US in the late 1920s as a nasal decongestant, it was a commercial form of amphetamine. Its effects were immediate. More energy, no sleep, elevated mood, reduced fatigue. For military leaders, it was a blessing. It kept men awake, alert, and focused for hours. In a war where every minute mattered, 1 second of wakefulness could mean life or death. The first to use it widely were the pilots of Britain's Royal Air Force. During night raids over Germany, the bomber boys took Benzedrine before takeoff, knowing their missions would last 8 to 12 tense hours, where any mistake could mean capture or death. The drug kept them awake. More than that, it gave them a false sense of control, of safety, of invincibility. The Americans soon followed. At Normandy, in North Africa, in the Pacific jungles, Benzedrine tablets became standard kit.
Throughout the 1930s, pharmacology had been developing at an incredibly fast rate. We had drugs that could make people stay awake and work when they should rightly be asleep. We had drugs that could make people relax and reveal hidden truths. The whole concept was that drugs can change people. And with the hot breath of war breathing down people's necks, it was as though we had a chemical key to making troops do things that they couldn't normally do. It was almost like a chemical unlocking of superhuman ability.
Hundreds of thousands of doses were distributed between 1942 and 1945. But they were not always the miracle expected. Side effects soon appeared: chronic insomnia, paranoia, tremors, racing hearts, violent outbursts, even psychosis. Soldiers lost their grip on reality after days without sleep. Some became dangerous to their own comrades. Stories abound: officers firing at shadows in the jungle, pilots shouting phantom orders, Marines collapsing after weeks of non-stop use. The difference from Germany was not in chemistry, but in narrative. While the Third Reich hid its use behind the myth of purity, Allied armies treated benzodrine as a necessary evil, part of the brutal logic of war. The same logic extended to the Asian front. In the last years of the conflict, as the Japanese Empire collapsed, a new weapon circulated: Hiropon, pure methamphetamine, distributed to kamikaze pilots, exhausted infantry, and even civilian workers. The effect was staggering. Hunger, fear, and sleep disappeared. Ancient samurai discipline had found its chemical replacement, but use went far beyond the front lines. When the war ended, millions of doses remained. A defeated generation fell into addiction. Students, office workers, housewives, anyone could buy Hiropon at a pharmacy without a prescription. What began as a military tool became a national epidemic. Hiropon did not end the war, but it ravaged post-war Japan. A drug designed to endure the unbearable destroyed ordinary life. In peacetime, the land of the rising sun paid the price for pushing human limits too far. These examples show that World War II left more than ruined cities and millions dead. It also left broken bodies, altered minds, and veterans returning home with a new battle: withdrawal. The drugs that had once sustained them now tore them apart. What began as tactical aid became silent mass addiction. The pharmaceutical war sought to design efficient soldiers but ignored the consequences. And though the weapons have changed, that war continues today, in labs, in prescriptions, and in every pill that promises more performance at any cost. And so, we reach the end. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. We'll see you in the next episode as we continue uncovering military history.